The first complete set of monthly inflation numbers has just been released by the Bureau of Statistics. Let's bring in our business reporter, Ed Boyd. Ed, what have we seen here with the headline inflation number during the 12 months to October, expected to rise to 3.6%? What's it come in at?
It's come in at 3.8%, Kieran, so a little bit higher than what economists were expecting for the month of October. Remember, this is the first complete set of figures that have been released by the ABS for a month-on-month basis, so there isn't really a measuring point we can look at for previous months at this stage. So it's going to take a bit of time for economists to adapt their economic models. But let me just read you a little bit from what the Bureau have released in the last 15 seconds. They say CPI rose 3.8% in the 12 months to October. ABS's head of price statistics said this release marks the transition from the quarterly CPI to the complete monthly CPI as Australia's primary measure of headline inflation. The time series for this data does go back to April 2024, which is when they began collecting a range of different prices. But the price increases 3.8% to October. It was up from 3.6% in the month of September. The largest contributor to annual inflation was housing costs, up 5.9%. That includes things like rent and electricity. This was followed by food and non-alcoholic beverages and recreation and culture. So you can see here, the ABS have now clarified it's gone from 3.6 up to 3.8. So inflation is getting quite a bit higher than the Reserve Bank's target band, which is, of course, between 2% and 3%. The trim mean inflation for the complete monthly CPI was 3.3% in the 12 months to October, up from 3.2% in the 12 months to September. So, in other words, the trim mean, which is the figure the Reserve Bank watches really closely, is now, well, it is above their target band of 3%. Annual goods inflation was 3.8%. The main contributor, it says here, was electricity costs, up 37.1%. over a 12-month period. Remember, of course, we have had electricity rebates that have been coming on and going off, on and off for the past year or so. That has caused the inflation numbers to really jump around quite significantly. The ABS today say the annual rise in electricity costs is primarily related to state government electricity rebates being used up by households. So they're slowly using up basically the credits that they have had. The timing of the rollout of the Commonwealth Energy Bill Relief Fund rebates also impacted on electricity costs. So we're also seeing here state government rebates were in place for Queensland and Western Australia in October 2024. Over the year to October 2025, the statistics we're talking about now, those rebates have all come to an end. So just talking a bit more about food and non-alcoholic beverages, they increased in price by 3.2% during October. That was the same as September. But obviously, food inflation is a big cost for a lot of families. It's supermarkets, meals and takeaway costs also lifted 3.6% in the 12 months to October. This is due to rises in the price of both labour, so, there were pay rises. Also, ingredient costs. Meat and seafood was up almost 4%. You can see here, food up 3.2, clothing up 5.4, transportation, that obviously includes oil prices, that lifted as well, housing up 5.9, and the electricity is within that housing number, but just to break out electricity, you can see over 12 months, the ABS have electricity costs or energy costs rising 37.1%. So this is a difficult set of numbers to really analyse for the first time, Kieran, because we don't have really that much of a reference going back for the past few years like we do with other inflation figures and with unemployment. But clearly, you've got trim mean inflation above the target band. You have headline inflation well above the Reserve Bank's target band. So not an ideal set of numbers to be looking at this morning.
No, and well, let's look at the reaction, can we, Ed? The stock market was up strongly ahead of the numbers. How is it reacting to this ABS release?
Yeah, well, let's have a look. The ASX 200 was up about 1% before the figures came out. It's come off a little bit, so it's up 0.8%. So it's dropped a few points. Clearly, investors are not too concerned by the looks of things about today's numbers. Let's look at the Aussie dollar. That was trading at about 65 US cents. It's 64.81, so it's sort of similar as well. So perhaps investors were sort of these numbers are new. It's going to take time to really understand fully how they work. Perhaps the investment markets haven't really got a full grasp of them yet, but clearly rates are going to be on hold for a while. I think investors already knew that. I don't think anything's changed from today's figures, Kieran.